So I got asked this question the other day, and this is what it says. How to deal with being scared of opponents when they are bigger, faster, or at a higher level? Or any other thing that makes you scared of an opponent. And so there are actually two main solutions that we are going to be looking at today. And so the first one is out of the game solution, and the other one is one that we are going to be using inside of the game. So what I mean by out of game and in game is simply that the out of game we're going to be doing at home, writing in a journal or in our phone, and the one in game we're going to be actually doing inside of the game, and we're going to be doing it when it's happening. So first, out of game solution. So first things first, you need to when you go through that situation, you need to realize what kind of thoughts you get. So let's say you are in the situation, or even you can remember it backwards, and you need to write down the thoughts that you had in that situation. You can even remember them, as I said, or ideally write them down right after the session happens or right after the game, because that's when you're gonna remember them the best. After you have the thoughts, we're gonna be analyzing them. So for analyzing them, we're gonna be using the downward technique. What is the downward technique? Well, it's pretty much writing down your thoughts in different stages. So let's say you have the thought on top, which is the one that you have during the performance. So for example, it could be, what if he beats me? About your opponent. So picture this scenario: you are before a game on the field, you are warming up, and you see on the other side of the pitch a huge guy that you know is going to be playing against you, and you get this thought, what if he beats me? Then you want to figure out what other thought created the first thought. So for example, it could be, he's better than me, because you have the thought, he's better than me, and that thought creates the actual thought that we are having inside of the scenario. Let's call this actual thought like the active thought, okay? The active thought is what if he beats me, and that one is on the top. And then we go one layer lower, which, as I said, is, for example, he's better than me. Then we want to go another layer lower, and all the way until we figure out the core belief. For this one, for example, for he's better than me, the core belief could be, I'm not good enough. And we figured out this belief, and what we want to do now that we've analyzed the thought, we're going to figure out a better perspective on the situation. So what we want to do, instead of focusing on comparison, whether he's better or not, or I'm better, we want to take the perspective that we focus on ourselves, and what matters is our own growth. And the only thing that matters is whether you improve, and not whether you are better than him. What matters is being the best version of yourself. So we have the thought, I'm not good enough, and the better perspective on the situation is, like, good enough for what? I don't compare myself to others. I am trying to be the best version of myself, and that's all I can control. That's a better perspective for this situation. Now, once we have the better perspective, it's good to think about it occasionally during your daily activities and just remember, boom, this is the better perspective. Or whenever we remember that we struggled against someone, for example, against some player, we remember this perspective, we focus on ourselves, on being the best versions of ourselves. We remember the new perspective. Now that we have out of game solution, we move into the in-game solution. So, first things first, the goal is to notice the thoughts or emotions or behavior in the moment. So you are before the game again, doing the warm-up, and you need to notice that you are even looking at that guy, and that you are comparing yourself with him, and that you are getting those thoughts, and that you are getting the feelings of nervousness. You need to notice this and realize it. That's the first step. How do you get good at noticing and realizing in the present moment as soon as possible and not getting lost in overthinking, you use mindfulness. So you meditate or use mindfulness for 5 minutes per day, and that's how you practice noticing thoughts. So that's the first step, notice. Second step, we're going to be creating our own anchor. What I mean by this is the only way flow state happens. By the way, flow state is the optimal mental state where we perform at our best, and it's the goal of whole mental training. So flow state only happens when you're completely present, completely in the present moment, involved in one activity. And so what we want to do is create a present moment anchor that's going to take us back into the present moment. Because, for example, when you are looking at that guy and comparing with him, you're obviously not present. Instead, you need to focus on something that is in your control and that is in the present moment. There are a ton of examples. For example, communication, focusing on the ball, focusing on scanning, focusing on your body language, focusing on hyping yourself up with your teammates, whatever works for you, or focusing on positioning, whatever works for you, pick one that you're gonna use always. One single anchor that you're gonna master. And when we have this anchor, what we wanna do is, you are in the situation, you notice yourself comparing, and you use that anchor and refocus to the present moment with that anchor. So for example, you refocus to scanning. You just say to yourself, scan. When you notice yourself being like comparing yourself, you say to yourself, scan, and you are now present, focusing on scanning. And every time you come back to that comparison, you again take yourself back to the present moment with that anchor. Okay, now that we have now that we notice it and we have our present moment anchor, the third step is to simply get good at it. How do we get good at it? We practice. It's the same as developing a technical skill or physical skills. You have to practice it a lot and get in a lot of repetitions. The best way to practice this is through visualization. How do you practice with visualization? You imagine yourself in that scenario. You need to make it as vivid as possible. You need to feel all of the emotions that's going through you. So you, for example, notice the guy and you start feeling nervous. Feel that nervousness. Once you feel the nervousness and you notice yourself being in there, you take yourself back to the present moment with your anchor, and you repeat, and again you feel how you become calm, how the nervousness goes away, how you're able to be present, how you're able to play at your best. And now you repeat this. I need you to do this for 5 minutes per day. And that's how you're gonna get in enough repetitions and actually be able to improve this. And the goal is to make it automatic. The only way to make it automatic is to do a ton of repetitions. So you repeat, do 5 minutes per day every single day. This really requires consistency and discipline. And so those are the 3 steps for practicing the in-game solution. So notice, create your anchor, practice with visualization. And so now we have the 2 solutions. First is out of game. Just to sum up, you write down the thoughts and analyze them. You use the downward technique to figure out the belief, and you figure out a better perspective on the situation, and you try to think of it in occasionally in random situations whenever you get thoughts about the situation, the scenario. And the second, in-game, as I said, notice the thoughts or emotions or behavior. Use mindfulness to practice this. Second, create your present moment anchor. And third, practice this with visualization for 5 minutes per day. So hope you enjoyed this. Let me know how it goes when you apply it. And yeah, first link in the description is if you're interested in getting further help and to work with me one-on-one. I coach footballers to build an elite mentality. So definitely check out that link. Book a call is the first link in the description. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.